Several actions require a trajectory total. But what does it represent? As a concept, trajectory total is fundamental to how Atlantic chase works. It is an abstraction that takes the dimension of time into consideration. It is a method of inputting the probability that task forces separated by distance will be able to converge in the target space. Generally speaking, the larger the trajectory total, the less likely convergence will happen. This might sound esoteric or complicated, but its function in the game is simple. Add together the number of segments of the active task force and the target task force. Their sum is the trajectory total. Use this sum to locate the column in the action table. Remember that a station has a length of 0. That's also true of a stealth force. It can get complicated, however. Actions often involve more than just 2 task forces. The active player is allowed to designate a coordinating task force and, weather permitting, an air support task force. Likewise, the target or inactive player is also allowed to designate a coordinating task force and an air support task force. Their trajectory lengths will influence the calculation of the trajectory total. Once all task forces have been designated, players modify the trajectory total. First, compare the active player's coordinating and air support task forces. If one is longer than the active task force, use its length for the active player's contribution to the trajectory total. If both are longer, use whichever is the longest. The important thing to remember is that you use only one active task force to calculate the trajectory total, adding it to the length of the target task force. For the target player, they too must take coordination and air support into consideration. If the target player invoked coordination, the length of their coordinating task force must be subtracted from the trajectory total. The same goes for air support. If the target player designated a task force for air support and that task force is a trajectory, subtract its length from the trajectory total. Some actions may be interrupted. Interruption only happens if one of the active player's designated task forces has an intel marker attached. Perform interruption after all task forces have been designated, both the active players and the target players, but before the action is resolved. An intel marker attached to one of the target player's designated task forces has no effect on interruption. Only intel markers attached to the active player's task forces matter. To perform interruption, the target player rolls 2 dice. Their sum determines the row to use on the interruption table printed on the game board. Each column is numbered, and the number refers to the total number of intel markers attached to the active player's designated task forces. The player aid folder explains what the results mean. Some results will cancel the action, and some will offer the target player an opportunity to make a seize initiative attempt, or will just hand initiative to them outright.